So how much AI? Because mid, almost to the end of 2025, we
Yeah.
have to talk about how you're using or leveraging AI technologies and
Yeah.
crunching this data.
So part of my experience through this process and kind of this personal and professional lens is what I'm studying in school, because I'm a doctoral student at the University of Pennsylvania, is I'm studying the impact school counselors have on addressing chronic absenteeism, but what data protocols we're looking at and what more efficiencies can be put in place. So when I met with over 100 school counselors over the past year and a half, I asked them all the same thing. I said, what makes a student truly exceptional? Like, what is, from your perspective, because you're around students all day, and they pretty much unanimously said the same thing. It's like family engagement.
Hmm.
That's what's the separation of aspect. But going back to my mindset of knowing, with growing up with my dad, like, it wasn't that he didn't care about the academic journey. He just didn't know what questions to ask,
Right.
because he just didn't come from that. And so how do we do that? And so what we're doing with AI is, through these kind of automated progress reports, is we are taking the data from these systems and leveraging large language models and different algorithms that we've built, and we're simulating what good parenting and what counseling sounds like
Hmm.
from that student. So imagine being able to get just this constructive feedback based on the data that it's obviously recognizing within these systems, these millions of data points, from your absentee rates to your GPA to your performances, to your behavioral aspect issues, to your learning difficulties, to your IEPs, your 504. So everything's there. And what it's doing is, it's obviously not only giving you feedback, but it's providing a response intervention plan for you. So it's like, oh, hey, hey, Dustin, you're having some great successes this past month. Keep that up. Here's some areas we're starting to see a trend downward.
Hmm.
It could be your attendance metrics. And by the way, you need to talk to your counselor about these three things. And that counselor also gets alerted as well. So what we're starting to see,
Anyway,
what
so
we're starting to see is students going to see their counselors with more of a position of strength, having
yeah,
more guided conversations, because it's wild. I mean, 500 kids to one school counselor by grade level
yeah,
is our national average right now.
wow,
Yeah, it's how do you make an impact?
yeah, and their job is to guide you,
Yeah,
and how are they doing it without deep dives into data? Like, what do they have today outside of your product?
I mean, a lot of it's is manual data processing, manual
Yeah,
data queries,
or
and
manual history, right? I know a student who
yeah,
can
yeah,
work with him in the past.
and if you look at, like, right now across the country, you got 471 students to one school counselor by grade level. I mean, some states like Arizona, you're looking at above 700 students per grade level to one counselor,
Yeah,
and obviously you can correlate the graduation rates in Arizona are lower than they are, say, in California, because of the number of counselors to students. But a lot of it is obviously the relational aspect. But imagine you having 500 close friends that you had to manage on a weekly basis or
yeah,
monthly basis. It's very difficult.
right.
So what you end up doing is you end up kind of focusing on kind of cohorts or segments that say students who are having the most challenges, let's just say in terms of behavioral challenges. I mean, when you and I went to school, they used to call them guidance
Hmm.
counselors, which was, we're going to guide you through this. Now they're called school counselors, because they're dealing with academic progress, they're dealing with college readiness, they're dealing with career readiness, they're dealing with behavioral issues, they're dealing with social emotional issues. I mean, there's so many things now that they deal with, and it's you end up having a lot of kids fall through the
Yeah.
cracks.
So this reminds me of a project I did with the state of Oregon. This is like, I don't know, 2013, 2014. Their grand vision was having a longitudinal student information system,
Yeah,
or a student longitudinal data system, whatever. And they wanted to capture everything that happens with that child, right? So you just talked about healthcare, health and human services was involved, child
yeah,
protective services, and the governor at the time wanted to capture all of that in one system from kindergarten through
yeah,
them entering the workforce. And it was kind of a pipe dream at the time, right?
yeah.
10 years ago, you don't have the data systems or the technology to bring all of this together. Is what you're doing heading in that direction? Because how are you getting the data to outside of what the students doing in school,
Yeah.
what's happening at home or in the community? How does that get correlated?
And that's a great question. And I think, as far as kind of entry point number one, whatever lives in these student information systems, we can grab onto. There's the aspect of I asked my daughter, like, why aren't you more involved with your student information system? And it was pretty much the same thing as I realized that inputs equal outputs.
Mhm.
And essentially what that means is if a student, when you log into a student information system, it's a bunch of static data. It's a bunch of just, raw, numbers and cents. And so students, when there's no engagement around like, hey, what do I do this? Now we have the ability for students to input specific areas of focus.
All right.
Simulate different pathways. So we're starting to see more kids and we're collecting different data points based on kind of entry points of students as well as educators. But because there's so many solutions that connect with student information
Mhm.
systems, we can be able to start to pull that information in, but also look at an external stuff. And this is the exciting part for us right now, because I get the question a lot is when you go back to your longitudinal data focal point, you say,
Mhm.
okay, what is the design focus of the United States Department of Education? And a lot of it was not all, but a lot of it was around research design and elements around how are we tracking graduation rates across the country by state, by cohorts, by subgroups, by demographics. How are we doing the same thing around absenteeism rates? Because obviously absenteeism post the pandemic, even before, are grave areas of concern because there's a lot of money tied to it. So all these things that are being kind of dwindled down and some of it just removed from their purview are now being pushed to the states.
Mhm.
And so the states are still going to be held accountable for all of that, but you have an option now because it's pushed to your district. Is what do? Do you hire 3 or 4 FTEs to manage this now, or do you use a system that can obviously do this for you with instant using leveraging AI and different data analytics? So we're starting to look at different data protocols that exist outside that we can triangulate some of that data, being able to push in. Because if we notice that if we're putting more inputs in from different sources, it's going to allow us to have more of a holistic view of these kids, not only their inputs, but third-party inputs as well as the student information system in there, and getting some stronger data points from there. So our next venture, which I'm excited about, is within the actual team, is starting probably Q2 next year. Having the ability to ask defined questions about your data
Mhm.
and get specific insights on that data. Because I just met with a superintendent last week that said, hey, we spent a week looking over our absenteeism rates and who are our kids, where are they falling into, what subgroups, who are the kids that have historical patterns. And we spent a whole week looking through this. And by the end of the week, we're exhausted and we come up with probably just a suggested guideline, but to be able to do that in seconds.
Yeah.
And to be able to kind of just start asking questions, create those models to be able to do that. The design always flows back to, in closing, which is how do we get educators to spend more time, which is the most important, which is in front of the kids versus in front of a computer leveraging and looking at data.
So who's your audience? Like, are you selling this to obviously to schools
Yeah.
and superintendents, but is there a parent focused portal?
Yeah, absolutely. So great question. So yes, we sell this directly to school districts right now. Now the interesting kind of workaround around this is school districts own their data, regardless of what system houses it. School districts own their data. So even if they were to move a system to system, they still that data resides with the school. So we partner with the school districts to be able to do so. And the amount of data privacy stuff that we've had to work through with SOC 2 certification and we've had to go through in terms of our audits. It's one of the things that's very important to us as we go through. But the biggest thing is once we partner with these schools is being able to have a very defined onboarding and implementation plan that includes also engaging with the counselors and educators, but also the parent and student side of things. Because it's the most like impactful thing that gets me up in the morning is if a parent can go into speaking with an administrator or a counselor to school with a clear focus of what the conversation is going to be about because of the analytics that are provided to them, saying, hey, here's where my kid is at, here's why this parent needs to see the counselor, here's particular areas of focus, that's very like prescriptive and sent there. You're starting to see parents now have these less aggressive conversations. It's just like, hey, how can I help at home now,
Yeah.
based on what I'm
You should self-socialism, and this. Um, so we were talking about parents, so student themselves, right? You said you need for owner of data. So what are cool things you're seeing from students that have access to data can have meaningful conversations with? What sort of ownership can they take? And not, are you finding students are taking options that they want to pursue, or right, to the guidance counselors and having conversations?
Absolutely. One of the things that took off pretty is the whole simulation. So because of access to the course codes, which is basically classes available at school, right? We have just a AV is a that's why we got the post production, baby.
I know.
I love it. Post pro.
We're still on. We're still on.
We are.
You're good.
Oh, we are.
Yeah,
I just texted my friend to say, "Are we still on?"
we're still on. We're choppy, but we're on.
That's just normally how we are, though.
We're just choppy people. Okay. You're telling me. I'm sorry. You were telling me about.
Oh, the simulation aspect. So let's just say you, as a student, just finished your freshman year in high school, and you want to go to UT, and you finish your freshman year, you have a 3.2 GPA. Reality is, it's probably not going to be the standout GPA to get into UT right now. So what the system does in terms of a simulation aspect is you set some of your strengths and goals that it's obviously adapting to you. It will actually take the next 3 years worth of course codes and tell you these are the classes that you need to take and the grades you need to get in each class per semester in order to get to whatever your goal is. So let's say you want 3.9.
Yeah.
It'll map it out all the way through, and it keeps the engagement with that student, with that counselor, and that family. Like, are you continuing to be on track with that goal? And so it's not a guessing game, because that's how it's always been. It's like, all right, I didn't get the grade I wanted this semester. Like, what do I need to do next year? Like, kids don't know. And so to be able to map it out and simulate that aspect, that's one kind of a modeling choice that we're doing on there. And then based on the kind of analytics that we're pulling, let's say you have a 3.5. It's feeding you based on your goals, universities and perhaps current technical schools that fit within your goals, your GPA requirements, your test scores. So now let's just say you get a D in a class your junior year. Those universities are going to be either through the algorithm being pushed to you are going to be a little different looking, the next semester.
Yeah.
So it's constantly getting kids refreshed around not having to spend time like looking like, where do I fit in? It's like, we're just constantly feeding suggestions to kids to be able to kind of want to use their data and focus on it more.
Yeah.